Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the lab. Got a good show for you tonight. Usually we don't have a good show for you, but tonight we have a good show. And if that's not a ringing endorsement for the show, I don't know what else is. Okay, the show's going to be pretty much on par with most shows. And welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua D. It's good to see you. Good to be here, as always. Looks like the Phillies are going to take game one of the World Series. Teresa, I've been immersed in the Delphi case and YouTube community on Delphi for so long. I'm so happy. This is a different day. I, like most people, I had absolutely no thought of covering Delphi, recently. I knew that they had been working on some stuff and always, working towards justice. And I think about 9 months ago, I put just a little something together about the case, and I believe it got up to the Keegan Kline part, and I thought that it's just a little 20-minute clip. And I think that, just looking back on it a little bit, and then we can kind of discuss what's happening today. And let's just take a look. A new development in the case. Is this the... The Delphi double murder case is a mystery that has us captivated, and it has for years. There is a new development in the case. Is this the missing piece that will put the entire picture together, or are we to not know what is for years to come? What is so strange about this case is the victims left us clues to help catch the killer. We know the day, February 13th, 2017. We know where. Half a mile from the Monon High Bridge, which as of 1 year ago is under a $260,000 renovation because of how terrible of condition the bridge was in. We even have a video of the suspect. So how on earth is this case not solved? Liberty German got a video of the person believed to be the killer. She also let the recording keep going in her pocket. So now we have the killer on tape. The two friends were found half a mile away, lying next to each other, deceased on Valentine's Day. But for some reason, this case is not solved. There are still a lot of pieces missing. What pieces are those? Well, it's the middle pieces. You know how it starts, you know how it ends. We faintly know something leading up to it. Here's what we know about the Delphi murders today. You're listening to The Lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. And after years of silence, there are new developments in the case. But before we can talk about the new developments, we have to talk about the case itself and take it all the way back to the beginning in Delphi, Indiana. February 13th, 2017, Delphi, Indiana, school is canceled, and we have an administrative leave day. 14-year-old Libby German and best friend 13-year-old Abby Williams wanted to go for a walk in the park, but not being old enough to drive, they needed a ride. And they convinced Libby's older sister, Kelsey, to drop them off at around 1:30 on her way to work. And she dropped them off at a side entrance at the trailhead. Libby's father agreed to pick the two up around 3:30 that day. So the plan was he was to call Libby near the time of the pickup so they could just simply meet him at the same spot the sister dropped them off at. In Delphi, Indiana, there are 10 miles of interconnected trails for people to explore. And as we all know now, the most famous of all the attraction was the Monon High Bridge, 65 feet above Deer Creek. It's an old abandoned railroad bridge that has fallen into really bad condition. But as of February 2020, as I mentioned earlier, there's a $250,000 renovation because of how bad a shape the bridge is in. Strange that people even walk across it, but they do by the hundreds. And this bridge meets the main trail on the north side. Deer Creek is found at the bottom of a very steep hill with kind of shell rocks and overgrown forestry. It wasn't the first time that Libby had been across the bridge. She enjoyed that kind of thing. Abby had never been across the bridge before, but Libby was sure to change it that day. Was there a killer already waiting for them? Was this a set-up meeting? At 2:05, Libby posted a Snapchat of the bridge going south. And at 2:09, she posted a photo of Abby on the bridge. Remember, 3:30 is when the father was supposed to pick them up. They hadn't made it halfway to the south end of the bridge yet. It takes about 10 to 20 minutes to get across the bridge walking. A few moments later, they crossed the bridge on the south end when they noticed a man approaching them in a fairly quick manner. Libby was scared enough to get a few seconds of video while holding the phone so low by her side that the person approaching them wouldn't notice. The man is seen walking with his hands in his pockets. He's looking down, but you can't make out his face. But he is wearing blue jeans, a gray hoodie, a blue zip-up jacket, and it looks as though he is wearing a hat. And it's believed by the sheriff that he's 180 to 200 pounds, 5'7" to 5'10", reddish brown hair. And they don't know what color his eyes are, but they are sure that they're not blue. And that still confuses me. But as he gets closer, she puts the phone in her pocket and it's still recording. And this is what you hear. It's absolutely terrifying. The man sounds so calm. People believe possibly that he had a gun, and that way he was able to forcibly make the kids go down the hill. Now, as for the audio that has been released to the public, that's all there is. But it has been said that there's more audio, possibly Abby even saying, "Is that creepy man still following us?" So as they make their way down the hill, they get to the banks of Deer Creek. A Nike shoe was recovered and a pair of underwear at the scene. The details of the murder haven't been officially released, but the leaked text from search crews say that their bodies were cut with a knife and that their bodies were deliberately posed according to those texts. And the attack on Libby was the most brutal. She was found with no clothes on. A former prosecutor on the Down the Hill podcast shared a little bit about the crime scene. Quote, "There was a lot of crime scene evidence and some of it is somewhat odd. But when I say that, any murder scene tends to have odd facts about it. There's a lot of unique facts there, and honestly, I'm shocked. And I promise you, the police are shocked. This crime scene was physically strange, and it is very odd," unquote. He said that there were also 3 signatures there. A signature is when a killer leaves something, making it that it was him specifically or her who committed the crimes. Has he committed other crimes? Signatures and serial killers go hand in hand, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The prosecutor also said that one of the signatures at the scene was religious in nature. What religion, I'm not sure. There's a lot of speculation about the signatures or what it could mean. And it could mean a multitude of things. So this is all speculation. The facts of this case have been closely guarded. We don't know exactly when the murders took place, But there are witnesses that do say they passed a man on the trail fitting the description at about 3:15 p.m. February 13th. Everything about this case, what they saw and when they saw it, who saw what, when, where, has been hotly contested. I mean, I gotta, like, this is gonna play 5 times in a row. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it so much. So I thought I'd just pause it for a second. Yeah, all right, come on. Let's just get this over with. I don't even know. Is this 3 or 4? Is this 3 or 4? Is I gotta fix that. I gotta fix that. Okay, I think that's over. Thank you. Okay, moving on. That was awesome. Thank you, Linda. Very sweet. Remove. Now that was funny. Okay. Let me just hide it. Tested. And if you take a close look at the suspect's video, it looks as though he has layers on, and that could be masking weapons, possibly a deer kit, police believe, and or a gun, or both. But how does somebody cross a shallow creek, killing 2 girls, and escape with nobody seeing him? There were exits near 2 main roads, which would have made it probably a lot easier to get away. And he could have been parked at the entrance that the girls came into, or he could have been parked at the cemetery. Either way, he could have made a relatively easy escape, which leads me to think that maybe he had this planned out the whole time, that he had picked the place and possibly done this before. All those questions need answers. Libby's dad showed up at 3:15 trying to get a hold of her. He wanted to let her know that he was there to pick them up, but she didn't answer. So he called Grandma Betty. Now, Grandma Betty was the one that was raising Libby at the time because of some problems that Libby's parents have had. But she didn't answer for Grandma Betty either. One of the oddities about this case, and there are many, is that the Find Your Phone app had been erased in a factory reset and hadn't been put back in, or Grandma Betty would have known her location. Unbelievable. At around 5:30, after looking for the girls, Mike reports the girls missing to the police officially. And I would assume that they probably didn't think at this point that there was really any kind of murder and that the bridge is treacherous and dangerous for anybody to be on. So you would assume that it could be an accident, but you just don't know. You just don't know where they are. Mike didn't know where they were, and the sun was going down. The temperature was going down, and they expressed that they had concern because the girls were not dressed for this kind of chilly weather. And the police seemed to have called the night pretty early. They didn't seem too concerned, but the family was very concerned, and possibly 100 people or more stayed and kept searching. But the next day, February 14th, 2017, Valentine's Day, a massive search is underway for the girls. And it was about 12:15 that afternoon when the girls were found by a group of searchers. The story goes a man using his new iPhone, using the zoom feature to see further, he saw movement. And that happened to be a couple of deer. But as he panned over, he saw Abby and Libby. And you would think that if this crime scene was decorated the way that it's been sort of described, he either had the props with him or that he went to get them. But you would think that he would be a local if he was able to navigate this place People were looking for these girls that night. When the sheriff was asked why the girls weren't found earlier that day with so many volunteers, he said, "I think I will leave that question unanswered." And I still don't know what that means, other than he didn't want to answer it. Remember, they were found half a mile from the bridge. If they would have been found that night, could the killer still have been on the scene? Could he have heard people searching and took off? He obviously wanted them to be found, and he wanted people to see that he had decorated. So think about this. Delphi is a tiny town. When I say tiny, it's about 3,000 people. But it's close to a couple of big cities, which makes everything more difficult. In this world of social media, teenage girls, just like every other person in the world, are very active on social media. So the new theory is that they were possibly catfished, and that's how the killer knew that they would be there when they were there. And if you've ever paid attention to the death dates, Libby's date of death was February 13th, and Abby's was February 14th. And it's not because they believe one lived longer than the other. It's really not controversial at all. By all accounts, the girls were killed on the 13th. But Abby's parents chose to put the day that she was found, which was February 14th. The law allows for that. Not too much controversy there. On February 15th, Bridge Guy, as the world has come to know him, has a photo released by law enforcement. And all they say was that he was somebody that they wanted to talk to because he was there that day. And then on February 19th, law enforcement confirmed Bridge Guy was their main suspect. They also revealed the photo came from Libby that was put out there on February 15th. And it was said that the phone was found near the crime scene, but we don't know what phone. And tips were pouring in, and people believed that this case would be solved quickly. And why wouldn't you? You have a picture of the guy, you have audio of the guy, the girl's body, the crime scene, and there was DNA. Where it came from and what kind of DNA, they never said. But they do say that there is suggestive evidence of fingerprints. So how's this case not solved? The girls were found on a man's property by the name of Ron Logan. Ron Logan had kind of a checkered past with law enforcement, but nothing that suggested that he was this type of killer. He had had alibis. He was out doing chores, and he was caught drinking at a pizza parlor. Fortunately for him, he was on probation for a DUI, and since the girls were found on his property, his probation was violated, and they didn't need anything more to search his house, and so they did, and they came up empty. But that's just a case of the police doing their due diligence, and I respect that. Ron was just sentenced to house arrest and cleared in the case of Libby and Abby's deaths. 4 months after the murders, a composite sketch of Bridgeman was circulated based on what witnesses saw that day, and it was circulated everywhere. One of the major suspects in the case name was Garrett Kurtz, and Garrett was a local meth head who was found guilty for strangling Nicole Bowen to death with the help of his girlfriend and another man. He says they did it because he was scared she was going to turn them in for cooking meth. So they killed her. Well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, it's somewhat perplexing, and it could be absolutely nothing and more than a coincidence. Years ago, Libby's dad was arrested on drug charges. So then he cuts a deal to act as an informant for the police to reduce a sentence. It's pretty common practice. One of the names that was given was Garrett's girlfriend, who lived in Delphi at the time. But growing up, Garrett spent a lot of time at his father's friend's farm. It turns out that that friend that owned that farm was Ron Logan. Remember Ron Logan, the drunk? Libby and Abby were found on his property dead. Garrett denies having anything to do with what happened. April 2019, 2 years since the murders, the police call a press conference. And people were on edge because this was a big deal. And what was said was nothing short of shocking. They told people to forget the sketch that had been circulated of Bridge Guy for the last 2 years, and that had been circulated everywhere. Then they unveiled the new sketch, significantly younger than the first sketch, and this person had no facial hair. And at the press conference, the investigator said directly to whoever the killer was, quote, "We believe you're hiding in plain sight and maybe even in this room. We've likely interviewed you or someone close to you," unquote. They also asked the public to notify them if anybody remembered a vehicle being abandoned at a CPS building between noon and 5 on February 13th, 2017. It was less than a mile from the cemetery. And remember, the cemetery was a straight shot to Deer Creek. But we don't know if anybody has come forward with any information about the car. According to the detectives, the killer is someone who is well known in the community. Now, here's the strange thing about the sketches. The first sketch that was released wasn't even the original sketch. The sketch that was released 2 years later was the very first sketch ever drawn. And it was drawn just 2 days after the murders, but it wasn't used. So now, the 2021 theory is catfishing. This comes about because of an online profile by the name of Anthony Schatz. While investigating the murders, law enforcement, specifically in the Indiana State Police Information Department, released the name of the fictitious profile, Anthony Schatz. This imposter used pictures of a well-known Instagram model. He portrayed himself to be extremely wealthy and owning numerous cars. The creator of this fictitious profile used this information while communicating with juvenile females to solicit nude images. And he would use fake addresses in an attempt to meet with them. And detectives are seeking information about the person who created the Anthony Schatz profile, so they ask anybody that has been contacted by this fictitious online profile to speak with law enforcement. So Anthony Schatz turns out to actually be a man named Keegan Anthony Klein. Klein's father's home had been searched fairly close to after the girls were murdered. Why? Well, he was suspected of child pornography. So what he would do was he would use male models' photos on Snapchat and Instagram to lure the girls to send him inappropriate and X-rated videos of themselves, and he saved them all and even shared them. Sometimes he'd even use his sister's name to convince the girls who they were talking to was another girl. And in 2017, they seized at least 6 pieces of electronics. And one of the phones that they found was factory reset February 17th, just 4 days after the murders of Abby and Libby. And he was polygraphed and taken home. But then he also turned another phone over a little bit later. Snapchat and Instagram and other apps had been deleted on February 27th. Apparently, he told the cops that he was effed and ready to grab a bag and ditch town, but he never did. But what I don't understand is after all this pornography that they found, he still stayed out of jail for 3 years. Klein was officially arrested in August of 2020. And more than a year later, police are making a connection between him and the Delphi murders. And if you think in the way of the police, it has been excruciatingly painful to get any information out of them. So the fact that they are connecting the Anthony Schatz profile that was owned by Klein and connecting it to Abby and Libby is potentially groundbreaking. Is this the break that is needed to solve this crime? Hopefully this is the piece that gets Abby and Libby justice and brings some closure to the family and the friends of those affected. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz, and this is The Lab. Okay, so you can check that out on my page. It's up there. Hold on. It's up there for, whoever wants to take a look at it. Let me move this up. I'm sorry. Keep messing that up. So anyway, yeah, I'm curious to think hear what your guys' theories are on this case. And I'm telling you, it would be, like I'm not a coincidence guy at all. Like earlier today, I was talking about how I'm a skeptic, and I'm skeptical of all kinds of things when it comes to conspiracies and murders and things like that. Like I tend to lean towards the side of, it doesn't really go deeper than this, or everything's surface level until I really feel like there is something there. And what I think is, if this is the guy, and it sounds like this is the guy that they're gonna charge, hopefully, with the murders, and I don't know, exactly what's going on here. But if this is the guy, I think that he knows Klein, and it does feel like Klein, like once the Klein connection started, to me, somehow, some way, it really started to speed up this investigation, and people are like, well, Klein's the guy. And I always thought, I don't know if he's the guy, but he might be a part of something. I don't know, I was like, I don't know if he's the actual guy, but I bet he's got buddies. And this is kind of something that is going on. I won't be surprised if we find out that this guy is friends with Keegan's father. And who knows what they'll find from this man, like on his computers. And, like I said, they seem to have pretty strong evidence. I mean, if they're going to pull the trigger like this and let the family know, hey, we're making an arrest in this case, and we're going to go forward with it, because when they tell, the family, a great point made, I can't remember, it was on Court TV tonight, but the family has no obligation to keep quiet. None. Zero. They don't have to. It would behoove them to, but they've been obviously, it feels like law enforcement is letting them in and telling them things as they go along, as you could see by the social media account today. But still didn't give up too much. Didn't give up too much. Let me see. Oh, let's see. Lisa, my eye is like, I forgot to even, that's how much better. Exactly. Dude, that's another thing that we'll talk about here in a second. By the way, my eye's fine. I went to bed that night and I woke up and it was all better. So that's why I never even brought it up, because I completely forgot about it, but it was hurting like a son of a gun that night. I'll tell you that right now. It was hurting for certain. All better. I think it was the eye washing in front of everybody that did it. Probably not. But yes, so somebody, I don't know who it was earlier in the chat, and I looked this up, and this was true, is that this man's wife, Richard Allen, or whatever the frig his name is, his wife stopped posting in 2017, just stopped for like a year and then started again in 2018. And as soon as the news broke that somebody was arrested, they locked down all of their social media accounts. Boom, boom. Linda, I did not have pink eye. Okay. I didn't have pink eye, and people were, and by the way, thank you for being so nice and sweet to me. But I didn't have pink eye, and I probably 5 people told me that I needed penicillin. Believe it or not, that's not the first time in my life that people have suggested penicillin to me, but I didn't need it because I'm fine. Now, moving on from my non-existent pink eye. So they literally lock down everything. They lock down all their social media, all this, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't have conjunctivitis. When I took a bird bath on live, you guys all witnessed it. I was fine. My eye's fine. I don't want to talk about it's fine. So what I'm thinking here is, what does the wife know? And do you think that this guy just walked out there one day and started doing something like this? Like that this is the first time he's ever done anything sketch? Now, I don't know. A lot of these times things kind of progress. If anybody's been listening to the Jeffrey Dahmer story and on, how it started out very young. And no, I do not wear contacts. I probably should. It's going to be interesting when people start digging into this guy's past. What the evidence, is this a DNA thing? Is this did his wife start saying something? Wife is terrified of him. Probably. I mean, his voice sounds just like Denise said, what were you, like my 29th subscriber? I told you not pink eye and stop rinses. And if it continued, to see a doctor the next day. Yeah, no, it's good. I did stop the rinses. You can't handle the eye. Teresa, so this is a great question. He is charged in connection with the murders. That's all I really know. He is charged in connection with these murders, and I think that they have probably been ready to arrest this guy for some time now. But it's high profile, man. It's just a high profile case. So they're probably trying to do everything on the down low, but the problem is you can't really do things like that on the down low. It's just really hard. It's just really hard to, keep quiet, because most of this stuff is public information. If the guy's got to go into a court that day, he's got to go into a jail that day. I mean, these are public buildings. Huh. I know. It's so strange. It really is. It really is. Yeah, they finally dotted all the I's. Yeah, exactly. Alicia Skeen says she didn't look terrified of him in the pictures I saw before her account was locked down. They looked like a happy, normal couple. Yeah, but like, think about this. What if the person that you're married to just turns out to be, yes, I think possibly so, but it's really hard to say what the involvement is. Like I said, I think that the Kleins and this friggin' weirdo I bet they know each other some way, somehow. They probably run in the same little online Dropbox, out there. And yeah, he's locked up for sure. It's just stunning, It's just stunning that like these kind of things happen the way that they do, and everybody kind of gets lulled to sleep by other cases, and then all of a sudden, like one of the most infamous cases in the last 20 years in true crime, there's an arrest, and you're going, holy crap, where'd that come from? I mean, was this guy ever even on the radar of the public? Had anybody heard this man's name mentioned? When's the first time that we heard this man's name mentioned as a serious suspect? It's like it kind of came out of nowhere, right? Gatorade, thank you. What are you drinking? Yeah, nobody had ever even brought him up. Never heard his name. Well, that's the other thing. So in the video, when I'm talking, they're saying, look, this guy is probably somebody in our community. He could be in this very room. He may have helped search. We're going to find out all these things about this guy. Monday, I'm telling you, they're going to have to release some more information. And Monday's going to be a big deal. And here you're going to start hearing from people that they're going to interview people that knew him. They're going to interview people that went to high school with him, ex-girlfriends, his daughter's friends, so on and so forth. I mean, it is going to turn into an absolute circus. This is about as high profile as it gets. This is the case. This is the case that people all over the world have paid attention to for the better part of 5 years. And on Monday, if they say that this is the guy that this is the guy that they are going to charge with the murders, the fact that he is involved in this at all, and it's speculation on my part to think that he is the only suspect. I don't know if he is or he isn't. I don't know. But if they charge this man with murder on Monday, so if they're holding him on a lesser charge, which I think is kind of what they're trying to do. I think that it's like, okay, we're arresting them with connections, connections, but there's no actual murder charge as of yet. Yes, I can, as long as you guys promise to show up. Good night, Allie Mae. Right. So all this stuff is going to be pouring out. This guy's going to be, a baseball coach, a deacon. I don't friggin' know, but it sounds like he has operated in the shadows for years. The guy, one of the biggest investigations in the state's history is filling prescriptions at CVS just mere miles down the road from the bridge. Holy crap. And law enforcement knew he was in the area the whole time. And it's going to be interesting to find out how much law enforcement was zoomed in on this guy and for how long. How long? Because it was just a couple weeks ago that they were out there again in the water. What they're looking for out there, I don't know. Maybe ballistics. We don't exactly know the manner of death that the girls died of. We just don't know. But a lot more answers are going to show up on Monday. But don't think that there won't be a lot more questions. With more answers comes questions. Like I'm telling you, and you guys know this the same way that I do, and it hasn't really sunk in yet, because Monday, everybody's kind of waiting for the Monday. Like, what's going to happen on Monday? A circus is coming to town. I would expect every local or every media station in the state is sending a truck to Delphi, a town of 3,000 people. And it's going to be a media circus. They're going to be interviewing family, relatives, friends. It's going to be something to see. Because a lot of people are invested in this case, and they have been invested in this case. Because what happened to these two girls is just unthinkable. The fear that they must have had, am I going to live? Am I going to die? This wasn't something quick that just happened. This isn't something that just happened. This is a calculated thing that took time. And who knows how long those poor girls were alive. It's sick. And the fact that folks, really dig in with me here. If you've ever seen this, reminds me of the 1 hour photo type movie. This guy is operating his normal daily life at the friggin' epicenter of this. Okay, how? And he just doing his thing under the radar. He had to know that they were looking at him, right? He had to know. How could he not? This guy was, I mean, this was planned. This isn't some random killing. It just can't be. I mean, he staged the bodies, for God's sakes. He wore an outfit that was a disguise. That wasn't that wasn't just out of nowhere. The reason he's dressed the way he's dressed there, and by the way, those men have the same shape. If you ask me, that's the guy that was on the bridge. I'm just, they look awfully similar build-wise and all that stuff. And by the way, like I said, he's not wearing those clothes, because I'm sure it was a little cold or whatever, but he's doing that on purpose. I mean, I think we can agree on that. I don't know if there was somebody else involved. They haven't named anybody else, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got help setting it up or whatever. But I mean, you have a man for the last 5 years. 5 years. He didn't move. He didn't do nothing. He stayed right there. He stayed right there. Why would he do that? How do you commit these kind of crimes having a family? How does nobody pick up on this? His family will know that day where he was supposed to be. His job, his family, they're going to be like, well, where were you? And I hear, yes, the evidence is key. They may have had enough DNA, but DNA is even contested these days. DNA is not the gold standard that everybody thinks it is. There are, DNA defenses. They know that. And it'll probably end up finding out that they were SA'd. I mean, does anybody think that they weren't? Let's see here. Julie says they get a sick thrill out of it, I'm sure. They have a secret life, and it's a thrill and disgusting. One of the things that I do want, you always go, well, if this is the guy and he was capable of doing something like this, then why wouldn't, are there any other unsolved murders or abductions or whatever? Whoever did this, and I believe that this is the guy that they're going to charge. That's just what I believe. But I'm so, like so many things feel like that they've been justified by law enforcement saying what they have said. it's probably somebody in the, that we've interviewed, or, yeah, I don't know. I just don't, I don't know exactly how, like nobody knows how they ended up here, but they have got to be feeling extremely confident. And this is another thing. Yeah. So this is a great question. At what point did they realize who he was, if they indeed did know him? These are all the things that we are going to find out in short order, and it is going to be a lot. And the fact that he lived so close and was in such close proximity where people talked about this probably every day. The guy works at a friggin' drugstore, for God's sakes. You don't think that he was brushing shoulders with people every freaking day that talked about this? Every day. And somehow, some way, this man maintains, keeps going to work. How does the mind work? It's just, he's like, there's a double life, and then there's a, like that's some Dexter stuff. Meaning, he's in the mix every day. This guy knew everything about the area. He knew everything about the area. This is his stomping ground. He knows what he's doing. Kelly, that's the weirdest part about this whole thing, is that how did he just continue operating? Like, at what point was he questioned by the police? Was he questioned by the police? Cotton farmer, this freak certainly had kids. And Mimi, you're right. It's a secret life, but it's like crazier than that. The fact that his daughter took a photo on the bridge for her senior picture is nuts. But you talk to any good law enforcement officer, any kind of detective, they're going to tell you this guy knew this area, or this person knew the area very well. Probably a local. And that's been put out there the whole time. And nobody suspected this guy. How? How did, in 5 friggin' years, how did nobody suspect this guy? Is his record that good? Because in a town of 3,000 people, folks, I'm telling you, after 5 years, I'd have looked at almost every single person and been like, yeah, could he have done it? They say he's around here somewhere. Let's see. Weird. You know what I mean? 3,000 people. 3,000 people. I live in a town of 40,000 people. And I can't go to the stupid grocery store without running into somebody that I know, if not multiples. You end up running and hiding in the aisles and stuff. It's just like weird. 3,000 people. And if this guy has no criminal history, if this guy has no record of anything. Maybe he just was that quote unquote sneaky. And Vroom says, totally agree, Josh. It's incredible. If the perp, he must have been scared, crapless or shitless. Or, well, I'll give you that. When he saw that video, but nobody came knocking at the door day after day. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. What do you think this guy went through when they opened up when he turned on the TV and he goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ, there I am walking. That's me." That's me. And somebody in the chat just said, and not all 3,000 of them were men, or men built like this. In a town of 3,000, nobody suspected him. Nobody. If I lived in that town, you could make the argument that kind of looks like me. Just from that, not his picture, but how many people look like that there? Not many. Can't be a town of 3,000 people, and there's no way that can't be Keegan. Keegan's like fat as hell. No body shame, but he's a portly fellow, and this guy's portly too, but not in the same way. And he just sat in that town. He looks like all men in the Midwest. Okay. No. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. I mean, yeah, but like they're not all that age. They don't all walk like that. They don't all. I mean, do you think that there were people that watched that and be like, I'd be watching the way people walk unless he was just staggering like that. But I saw a video earlier, and I'm not going to tell you that I can pick up on anything like that, because I certainly cannot pick up on stuff like that. But he did stagger side to side like this guy. There's a definite something there. I saw it. And I am skeptical of that stuff. Super skeptical of that stuff. Proving Spooky says, don't feel bad, Josh. Keegan is a creep. I don't feel bad. Thank you, though. I won't feel bad. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Don't you think that people were profiling their community? How could you not? A town of 3,000, and you have the cops saying that we have a killer among us, basically. Could be in this very room. What was this guy doing this entire time? Yeah, hold on. This is a fluid show, you know what I mean? I just figured you guys had seen it. I'm looking. I'm trying. Come on. Bridge guy, where are you? Where's the bridge guy? I'm looking, I promise. I'm gonna find it. I promise. I'm looking. It's dynamic, Josh. It sounds more sophisticated than fluid. I agree. I look up after. Please show the video of him walking. All right. I got it, dude. I'm looking. The heck's this? No, yeah, no. I'm talking about. I saw him walking at like a barbecue or something. I am multitasking. Teresa called me an effing creep. I'm just kidding. I know you didn't. Yeah. All right. I can't find it right now, but probably a reason for that. Maybe it wasn't him. Hold on. Okay, so what is this? Yeah, I'm gonna take my time. Thanks. Okay, well, can't find it. I do want to listen to this real quick. Let's hear this.
So here to help break down what happens next in this case, let's bring in former FBI agent Doug Coons. Doug, thank you so much for being here with us. I know you.
No, it's not worth waiting for. I hate dead air. I hate it. I hate it. That's why. Search Delphi killer on bridge. Upload email. Send him playing pool. Oh no, I think I got the playing pool thing. I think I got the playing pool thing. What do we? Maybe I don't. Whatever. Somebody sent that to me earlier. I was on a roll. I was feeling it. Grooving, making sense. And then comes to a screeching halt. Nobody pulls the e-brake like the lab. And that's not a good thing. I do it for you. Okay, I can't find anything. I can't find anything. Everything is it's all left. Let me check my Facebook. I'm on the air. See, Melissa. Sorry, Melissa. Sorry. I can't find it. Can't find it. I'm feeling defeated now. Amy, the one that you sent me, that's not him. That source isn't trustworthy. But no, there was a him playing pool earlier. I don't know. Anyway, my train of thought's gone. It's just gone. Kelly, it wasn't your fault. I didn't have to do it. That was on me. I should have just kept going. Does anybody know what kind of a job he had? Yes, we certainly do. It's easier said than done. I'll check one more time. Nope, it gone. Anyway, can't find it. What to do? What to do? Guys, have a good night.